Listen Up Girl podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman, here to give you 10 minutes or less of LGBTQ plus news. Today is Wednesday, August the 6th. First story is White House accused of extorting Brown University over trans care ban. In a deeply disturbing move, the White House has strong-armed Brown University into cutting off gender-affirming care for minors and framed it as a win against what they call gender extremism. The press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, proudly announced a deal that forces the Ivy League school to pay $50 million over 10 years to state workforce development organizations, a payment the federal government will actually reimburse. But here's the catch. In return, Brown must enforce a ban on trans women in sports and facilities aligned with their gender and cease all medical care for trans youth, including the use of puberty blockers. In exchange, the federal government has agreed to restore over $500 million in contracts and grants they had withheld without any legal authority. This raises major red flags about the administration's abuse of power and continued attacks on trans youth, particularly in education and healthcare spaces once seen as progressive. Legendary read after transphobic street harassment. So the drag superstar and internet icon Tiara Skye, known for her viral street interviews and dazzling energy, turned a hateful encounter into a viral masterclass in poise and power. In a recent TikTok clip, Tiara was verbally attacked by a transphobe who screamed that she would never be a woman. Tiara did not even flinch. Instead, she hit back with one of the most elegant drag reads in recent memory. "I will never be a woman like you because you are not the woman I'm trying to be." The video has since blown up with thousands applauding her for staying graceful and fierce in the face of bigotry. Tiara continues to use her platform to blend humor and advocacy, reminding us that joy and shade can be revolutionary. Rosie O'Donnell is back in the news. She is saying now is time to stand with trans people. Rosie O'Donnell is using her platform for powerful advocacy. At the West End premiere of Burlesque, the musical in London, she opened up about parenting a non-binary child and discussed her recent relocation to Ireland, citing the growing hostility in the U.S. She spoke candidly about the rising tide of anti-LGBTQ+ rhetoric and policies, warning of unfair marginalization, targeting queer and trans communities in the United States. Her message was clear. Every person in the LGBTQIA+ community needs to gather around and support trans people. Rosie's words serve as a reminder that allyship, especially from within the community, is more critical than ever. And I agree with her. And if you notice, a large majority of my stories are about transgender people and the rights that are being taken away from them and how they are being targeted by the United States. Keep that in mind because they are part of our LGBTQ+ community. LA's Precinct DTLA gay bar battles discrimination lawsuit and calls for support. One of LA's most beloved queer spaces is fighting back after a former employee filed a discrimination and assault lawsuit. The plaintiff alleges that bar managers targeted her because she's a straight white woman and claims she was physically assaulted on the job. The bar has turned to Community for Help, launching a GoFundMe campaign and organizing a drag fundraiser to support their legal defense. The staff said, "Sounding the alarm wasn't just about the litigation, it's about the responsibility we feel to our staff and patrons." The bar's plea for support highlights the complexities of workplace dynamics in queer spaces and an ongoing struggle to create a safe environment for all. Next story is Mariah Carey is now protecting the dolls. Mariah Carey knows how to make a statement, and this past weekend at Brighton's Pride in the Park, she gave the LGBTQ+ community a moment to remember. The pop legend strutted on stage in a mini dress inspired by a trans flag, paired with a custom pink jacket that read, "Protect the Dolls." Her message was clear, stylish, and unapologetically fierce. Trans rights are human rights, and the dolls deserve to be protected. Fans erupted online, calling it one of the most iconic Pride fashion moments of the year. Good for you, Mariah, for standing up for transgender people. Next, queer fans of shows like The Andor, The Last of Us, and The Gilded Age are raising alarms over a disturbing pattern. Queer characters keep dying, usually right in front of their partners. It's part of a long-running media trope known as bury your gays, where LGBTQ plus characters are often killed off early and tragically or unnecessarily. Writer Michael Cubby pointed out, while characters die all the time in dramas, queer deaths tend to be especially graphic, cruel, and emotionally manipulated. It raises the question, why are queer stories so often denied happy endings? When asked about Santos, who pleaded guilty to identity theft and wire fraud last year, Trump chuckled and said, "He lied like hell, I have to tell you." He made no mention of the stolen campaign funds Santos allegedly spent on Botox, adult websites, and Hermes goods. The moment reinforced that many critics fear that Trump views corruption as a joke and accountability as optional. Could you imagine, after all this stuff, put George Santos aside, but what Sean Combs did to these people, to these women, to these men? He is convicted and he's thinking about possibly giving this guy a pardon. This country is so fucked up if that happens. I mean, it's fucked up anyway, but. Next, Harvard shares employees' immigration data amid escalating government surveillance. Concerns over government overreach are growing after Harvard reportedly turned over I-9 employee forms to the Trump administration, revealing immigration and citizenship status. This comes amid troubling trends. Texas has compiled a list of trans individuals updating their IDs, and federal officials have floated registries tracking people with autism. Harvard's calculations, though seemingly small, feeds into a chilling narrative about state surveillance and the targeting of marginalized communities. When government starts making lists, history teaches us to be very afraid. Next, we have an Austin church turns a hate crime into a mural of love. After vandals attacked the LGBTQ plus affirming life in the city UMC in Austin, tearing down a pride flag and spray painting pride was the first sin on the building, the congregation responded not with anger, but with art. Volunteers came together to paint a new mural on the church's front entrance featuring two progressive pride flags and a message of hope. The act of creative resistance is celebrated as a powerful example of turning hate into healing. Next, we have Northern Ireland funds gender care to slash the 7-year wait list. Northern Ireland's health minister, Mike Nesbitt, has pledged over $1 million to rescue gender-affirming care services that were practically non-operational. The Back and Burn Clinic in Belfast has over 1,200 people on its wait list, with some adults waiting more than 7 years for their first appointment. Nesbitt's funding aims to combine youth and adult services, ensuring smoother transitions for younger people turning 18, while critics from conservative parties objected. Nesbitt said the move was essential to maintain alignment with the UK-wide gender care standards, particularly the ban on puberty blockers for minors. And my last story is far-right group slams Ulta for featuring Jonathan Van Ness in campaign. So Ulta Beauty is once again in the crosshairs of the far right, this time for featuring Queer Eye star Jonathan Van Ness in a joyful in-store campaign. The Family Research Council attacked a viral video of Van Ness jumping with glee at the unveiling of a display featuring their hair products and image. The group called Van Ness was mocking women and accused Ulta of promoting a caricature of view of femininity. They also cited Ulta's past collaboration with Dylan Mulvaney as further proof of the company's commitment to LGBTQ plus inclusion, which to many of us sounds like a win. But the Family Research Council does not want anybody in the LGBTQ plus community to win anything. They would love for us just to go away. And you know what? We would love for them just to go away as well. That is my news for today, Wednesday, August 6th. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to subscribe. Also, I'd love to see some comments about what you think about the news, what you'd like to hear more of, what you'd like to hear less of. I still am going to have to report negative stuff, which you know I don't like doing, but that's part of today's world, just making you aware so you stay informed. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.